Good evening. Good evening. Trying to get back on track here. Back from Vietnam. Pardon the sunglasses. My eyes are a little messed up from, well, just my adjustments. Jet lag from across the world is, it's something else. 12-hour time difference. That shit is something else. But yeah, we're back, and I've been working on, I'm putting together a whole bunch of small videos for a Patreon series, and they're going to be short, they would jam-packed with information, but small and easily accessible. So they're not going to break your wallet at all. So I've been working on those while I'm dealing with this jet lag. I think tonight will be probably the first night in a while that I'll have some decent sleep. So that should be a little prize for me. But yeah, switching out 12 hours is crazy. And then, what's up, Phil? And then if there's a couple of videos that I made while I was in Vietnam. One was when I was in Sapa, and then another one when I was walking the streets of Hanoi. And I just hope the audio is good enough for that. But it's cool. Even if you can't really hear very well, you can see a bit of Hanoi. It's an interesting place. So yeah. Yep, here we are. So I've got an excerpt of one of these videos, and it's about restraint and how restraint of many different kinds can create various effects within the woman. Okay. It can produce arousal, obviously, that's one that we all like. It can produce feelings of safety. It can produce things that allow her to open up. Hello, Brandon. It can allow things for her to open up, because see, the thing is here is that with guys, we want the woman to be fully enveloped, fully engrossed in the experience of us as men. And this is a great thing, right? When they can lose themselves in the experience of us. And it's a great thing to experience on our own part. Okay. But the thing is that it requires certain things, right? And we can't, the first stages of it is you coming to the understanding that women do not operate the way we do, right? You've heard this often, that guys are like microwaves and girls are like ovens. And this is the truth, right? It takes a while for an oven to get to a set temperature and to be able to hold it there. And so, all right, just making sure my dogs are chilled out. And microwave is just go beep beep beep, and then it does the job. And we can't look at women with our eyes. We have to understand their eyes, how they think, and not in the stupid fucking red pill way of trying to understand women, right? That's all bullshit. It's all nonsense, fear-based crap. Okay. I mean, truly understanding how a woman ticks. Okay. And what's the motivations behind a lot of what she does and how she thinks. And so much of it is based around her emotional states. And once you start understanding this and then coming to it without judgment, this is when you can start affecting it. And once you start affecting their emotional states, which then translates to um, a shift in their behavior, all right, it turns into a shift of their behavior, shift in their perceptions, a shift in their habits, a shift in how they talk, how they carry themselves. And largely it becomes a reflection of yours, like your habits, your behaviors, your attitude towards things, how you talk, how you hold yourself. And the effect is profound. Like, I don't think, and that's the problem, right? You guys don't understand how truly influential you can be to a woman, or number of women. It doesn't matter. Like whether it's 1, 3, 18, it doesn't matter. But you need to come to the understanding that you can have a profound effect on her entire makeup. And once that is established and you hold it, you maintain it, right? She starts looking at you in this entirely different way. They're not going to want to be with other men. But of course at that point you're not even concerned with thinking about this sort of thing. But they just hand over themselves to your will. And this has nothing to do with BDSM, right? This has more so to do with your standing as a man. And and a lot of it has to do with restraint. Because in the actions of restraint, it shows that you are in control, that you're unfuckwithable, as a colleague of mine says. And this is important because it sends a signal to her that you're unaffected. The trick is that it's got to be true, a true statement of that. Like, it can't be just you feigning or pretending or cosplaying that you're unaffected and then inside you actually are. Like, this is nothing that you can fake, because everything you do carries like a scent, all right? And the woman can pick up on that scent. It's like a subconscious thing, okay? They can tell when you're not really grounded and you're just pretending, you're just trying it on. And then she's like, maybe go with it or something, or start thinking you're trying to impress her or whatever. And this won't work. It's not the sort of thing that you can say, I'll fake it till I make it. It does not work. Like, you have to actually not be affected instead of trying to not be affected. And it's just something that takes time and practice. It takes time and practice to have emotional resilience and emotional regulation, such that you just are. Okay. And granted, I'm in my 40s. Like, I can say this easily. You know what I mean? I was just actually coaching my son. He started talking to this girl. On Snap, and he was like, "Holy shit! Like, she's attractive." I was just like kind of goofing around. It turns out she's really cute, and she's not too far away. She also lives in New York, and so I was kind of helping him with his mindset as he was messaging, and he's like, "Dad, he's like, you got to consider, like, you're in your 40s. I'm fucking 13." I'm like, but it still applies, right? Having that emotional resilience, like not getting too excited, not like just not moving off your square, like just because the girl's talking to you. But it's cool seeing him go through that, because it's so raw. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not gonna be like a guy in his 20s who's gonna try to hide the fact that he's really excited. He's like, "Nah, man, I'm cool. Like, he doesn't have that part developed in him, like this ego protection thing. Like, he just kind of lets it all out. And I'm like, dude, just calm down, relax. Like, it's just a girl. All right. So I just kind of coach him a little bit what to say and how to handle it. And she was just like responding like this, boom, 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 boom. I'm like, see, like just control yourself, be measured in what you do. And things will be more likely to work out in your favor. But you can't be too concerned about it. So, and that's another form of restraint, right? Like something good's coming through and you like part of you really wants to be excited, but you need to restrain yourself. Restrain yourself from really going in any major direction, okay? Be it positive or negative, okay? It's not just about managing your emotions and your mental states when things are bad or when things are stressful or you're sad or you're angry or whatever, okay? It also has to do with the positive things. When you're happy, when when you're aroused, the good side of stuff, right? Just because it's not bad doesn't mean that you can get carried away. No, it all must be just relaxed and centered through all of this stuff. And I remember I was dealing with this one guy maybe a year or so ago, and he got kind of depressed at the thought of this, right? Because he was coming at it from like very simpish sort of thing. Like he was getting like a strong emotional charge from being able to simp all over these girls, right? A strong emotional charge for chasing them and spending money on them, right? And because that's just what he knew. And he got really excited about this sort of thing. And in me talking to him, he got kind of depressed and he's like, so I'm not going to like girls anymore. I'm not going to really enjoy sex. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Okay. But it's just not going to have a hold over you. It's going to be a completely different relationship with these things. And it's just something that you're unfamiliar with. Like right now, you're relating to women on a very adolescent level. That's all excited and giddy and wants to keep that flow of dopamine going. All right. And it's this game is not about how much dopamine you can collect. It's not about that shit. Okay. It's actually maintaining your composure amidst whatever the fuck is going on, be it like a dopamine spike or something that crashes it. Okay. Because the more regulated you are, the less these peaks and valleys happen. Okay. So there's less of this up and down shit of, your brain chemicals, your mental states, your emotional states, and things are relatively calm. But to a guy like that, he's like, oh, that's boring. It's like, no, it's actually the beginnings of creative freedom, because it allows you to think clearly and make decisions, and it frees up your imagination when you're not, all jammed up with either positive or negative emotions and mental states. So this is something to take into consideration and to put into practice. Yeah, definitely something to put into practice. And because it's not like a light switch or something like that, where you are saying like, okay, I'm not going to be affected by shit anymore. I'm not going to, these women aren't going to move me up my score anymore. And it's a one and done. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Because you have so much, like how you react to things is often a habitual response created over many years. So it's going to take a while to readjust those things. Like if you go to a chiropractor, they just go one adjustment. You're like, all right, your spine is straight forever now. Like it doesn't work that way. It's slight adjustments again and again and again over time. And then your spine becomes straight, and it's the same sort of thing. You're just making adjustments to your psyche rather than your spine. Which reminds me, I need to fucking see my chiropractor. I love that shit. So let's get into let's get into this bit of reading here. All right, slightly different format. I'm going to be reading something that I created, so bear with me. All right, so imagine this: her nails digging into your back, her breath catching, her thighs tightening around your hips, pulling you deeper, faster, and harder into her. She's begging, words spilling out of her raw, unpolished. Please don't stop. Give it to me. And you're right there. You're teetering, every nerve demanding release. The heat swells, the wave mere seconds from crashing, and then you don't. You slow down. You pull back. You shift your breath and your rhythm, forcing the beast inside you to obey. It's a battle of wills, an internal struggle against the primal urge, but you hold firm, your gaze locked with hers. Her gasp shatters the silence. A mix of frustration and awe flashes in her eyes, because in that moment, a primal realization dawns. You are not ruled by your lust. You are the master of it. The power shifts, subtly but undeniably. She sees not just a man, but a force of nature, disciplined and in control. This isn't about denial, it's about elevated pleasure, a heightened state of intimacy forged in the crucible of self-command. This is the dark gift of restraint. Most men chase orgasm like starving animals chase scraps of food. Fast, frantic, and then done. They're slaves to their immediate desires, missing the profound depths of communication and sensation that lie just beyond the precipice. Their pursuit is a race to an end, a fleeting moment of release that often leaves both partners wanting more intensity, more presence, more everything. But the man who learns to withhold, who knows how to hold her and himself at the cliff's edge without tumbling, that man becomes unforgettable. He understands that the true high isn't in the release, it's in the unbearable, exquisite ache of not yet. It's in the prolonged tension, the shared anticipation, the knowing glance that says, I could take you there, but I'm choosing to keep us here in this potent, electrifying moment. This deliberate prolongation transforms the experience from a mere physical act into a symphony of senses, a dance of power and surrender that transcends the ordinary. It builds a kind of energetic pressure, a charged atmosphere where every touch, every breath, every movement becomes amplified, etched into memory with an intensity that quick, frantic encounters can never achieve. He's not just there giving pleasure, he's crafting an experience, an unforgettable journey to the brink and then back again, deepening the connection and leaving an indelible mark on her soul. Most men are consumed from a young age to pursue climax as the sole aim of sexual encounters. This pattern, stroke, chase, finish, sleep, is reinforced by pornography, casual sex, and even in long-term relationships and marriages, subtly ingraining a narrative that equates speed with prowess and the male orgasm with the definitive end of the experience. However, a woman's most vivid memory of sex isn't your orgasm. It's the prolonged intensity that you create, the breathless anticipation where her body trembles, her breath catches, and her mind yields to an overwhelming, almost primal desire. This sustained tension, the exquisite buildup of sensation and emotion, is the true high, the memory that endures and forms the bedrock of profound intimacy. The conventional wisdom where sexual success means quickly bringing her to orgasm and then achieving your own is efficient, but it's ultimately sterile. One second. Okay. So I'm going to back up. The conventional wisdom where sexual success means quickly bringing her to orgasm and then achieving your own is efficient but ultimately sterile. This approach often prioritizes a checklist mentality over genuine connection, reducing the rich tapestry of sexual interaction to a series of discrete events. Real sex is not tidy, it's raw, chaotic, and deeply intuitive. It's about guiding her nervous system to a point of delicious surrender, allowing her to fully inhabit her body and experience the full spectrum of pleasure. Rushing to climax prematurely extinguishes this potent space, robbing both partners of the profound buildup, the delicious edge of control, and the deep, resonant satisfaction that comes from fully explored erotic journey. It truncates the experience, leaving a lingering sense of unfulfillment rather than deep contentment. Paradoxically, women don't desire a man who grants instant gratification. While a quick release can be momentarily satisfying, it rarely creates a lasting impact. Instead, they are drawn to the man who possesses restraint, not out of selfishness or a desire to withhold, right, as manipulation, but because he understands that holding back amplifies the pleasure tenfold. This deliberate denial is an act of mastery and generosity, demonstrating a profound understanding of female physiology and psychology. It intensifies the experience for both, creating a deeper, more unforgettable connection that transcends the purely physical. This restraint is a powerful tool, transforming a fleeting encounter into a truly memorable and bonding experience, marking him as a lover who understands the deeper currents of desire. In the delicate dance of intimacy, a subtle yet profound power emerges when the ordinary rhythm is deliberately disrupted. Women, in their deepest essence, often find themselves on the precipice of a unique plea when you, with intentional restraint, delay the natural climax. This isn't born of cruelty, but rather from the innate understanding their bodies possess, a primal knowledge of the impending release. Every nerve ending, every heightened sensation screams for that ultimate culmination. Yet, it is in that whispered "not yet" that something ancient and powerful awakens within them. This intricate psychological play is not about denial in its simplest form. It is a sophisticated strategy of prolonging the anticipation, stretching it to a point where it becomes almost unbearable. This is the crucible of intense tension. A profound and transformative shift begins to occur. The feminine spirit, by its very nature, thrives on suspense and the tantalizing allure of uncertainty. Consider their favorite novels or cinematic masterpieces, which meticulously build, layer by layer, a captivating and deeply satisfying climax. This very same principle, this masterful art of the slow burn, is the core essence of erotic psychology. The moment you withdraw, just as she teeters on the brink of release, her arousal doesn't merely diminish, it surges with an almost violent intensity. She clings tighter, her fingers digging into your skin. Her pleas deepen, resonating from a raw, uninhibited place within her. Her words, stripped of all artifice, become a desperate litany. Please, don't make me wait. I need it. I can't. Crucially, it is imperative to understand that this is not frustration in its common interpretation. Instead, it is the exquisite and complete surrender of her being. Each and every plea, each desperate utterance serves as an undeniable acknowledgement of your control in that moment. Do you truly grasp the immense and intoxicating power inherent in surrender? This power, far from being about denying her pleasure, is fundamentally about amplifying and intensifying it to unimaginable heights. When you finally choose to grant that release, it will not manifest as a gentle sigh, or a soft murmur of contentment. No, it will be an explosion, a visceral, all-consuming tempest of sensation that shakes her to the very core. In the aftermath, as the echoes of that climax slowly subside, she will remember. She will remember who meticulously pushed her to that absolute limit, who held back with an iron will, and who, with an almost godlike command, orchestrated the tempest that raged between the both of you. Therefore, restraint is not a form of deprivation. It is, in its purest form, an amplification of desire. Once a woman has experienced the exquisite, almost agonizing ache of not yet, once she has been initiated into the profound mystery of prolonged anticipation, she will never again be truly satisfied with the fleeting nature of quick, ordinary sex. Her entire being will yearn for that unbearable stretch, that tantalizing delay. She will crave you, not just for the act itself, but for the master who can orchestrate such a profound and unforgettable journey to the edge of ecstasy. Every man, I think I'm going to stop there because I get into a lot of the technique, and that I think I'm going to save for the video. This goes on for quite a bit. Teasing, mastering her craving. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Creating a cataclysmic release. The slow burn. Yeah. So unlocking her pleasure. So yeah, I'm going to stop there because that's enough for you guys. I don't want to cut through all the good shit. You're going to have to get the video. But I hope that that description and that bit of reading helped you guys understand more of what I've been getting at for the past many weeks. All right. This is where you end up having power. So the difference between power and force, right? Force is something that takes action. It's very simple, right? It's just A to B. Power, on the other hand, can take many forms. So I look at power sort of like a battery or a generator. The electricity that's found in a battery, or that a battery can generate, it can go into anything. It's extremely versatile of what you can do with a battery. Force has much more limited options of what it can be used for. So when you start harnessing timing, you start harnessing pace, intensity, delay, your own lust, all of these things. This is when you start cultivating your power in the bedroom. And from there, the step outside of the bedroom, say you're in a relationship, it's not very difficult at all. It becomes super easy because once you start learning that mechanism of what it's like to exercise power, and it's not just to say like power over someone. Okay, really it starts with power over yourself. That's what the whole thing that I just read, the beginnings of that have everything to do with controlling your own lust, having power over your own lust. And then that transmutes into just raw power, which then you can take and do and whatever you want. So in the context of what I was just reading is controlling the pace. That power turns into controlling the intensity of what can and can't be done. So, like what can be touched. Like, for example, allowing her to touch only certain things or with certain body parts, allowing to kiss, or not allowing to kiss, putting up small barriers, small obstacles in order to create tension. That's just, one callous example. But the point is that is that you change over that lust into potential power, which then you can create other things with. And like I said, you learn that mechanism and you can explore it outside the bedroom and start expressing your power outside, right? Because you get a feel for the levers, right? And what I mean levers is like the things, the factors in situations that allow you to have leverage, or to have, like, or other people, right? When other people have leverage, so you become aware of who has leverage and who doesn't, and how much, and what the lever points are. But it's very easy to start learning these things sexually. But you got to get past this whole thing of like, I'm in it just to get a dopamine rush, that 3-second dopamine rush, right? Get over that, right? Because once you start mastering this stuff, that whole red pill fear of, what's it called? Pair bonding, right? Pair bonding to Chad with his enormous thundercock. You guys, I swear, I've never heard any group in my life, like, gay guys don't talk about other dudes' dicks as much as red pill guys do. I swear. Yep, they think about Chad and his dick way too much. But anyways, the pair bonding thing, what I just described, completely blows the whole pair bonding thing out the water. Because the thing is that most guys are not operating this way. Most guys are not creating this kind of experience because they're in it just for their own pleasure, that 3-second dopamine hit. And then basically talking themselves up because they were able to have sex, that they're some kind of fucking genius or some kind of goat who gets laid. For the most part, dudes mac on accident. They've fallen into some pussy. They didn't orchestrate that shit to happen. So, but guys have their ego. They love to see themselves as greater than they actually are. The path of manhood begins when you stop doing that. When you see yourself as you are. And not only that, you see yourself as you are without judgment. Because that's the next first natural step, is when they start doing that, is you start judging yourself, feeling bad. And that's just more ego bullshit too. But when you start hitting, getting at yourself on these multiple angles, and then you're able to interact with women, having sexual experiences with them, this becomes so much more potent than this mythical Chad or mythical Tyrone that's in your head. Now, you do realize that this person does not exist, right? It's an archetype. There's no actual Chad. There's no actual Tyrone. Yes. Oh, good. My little pet just woke up. Yes. Yes, hopefully she's watching. Now, if you are, don't go playing with yourself too soon. So that's the thing, when you start bringing in all of this stuff, okay, you start bringing in the psychological, sexual, emotional influence, like on an erotic level. while at the same time creating something within yourself that allows them a very high level of trust. Just that their vulnerability can open up and keep opening up and keep opening up until the fucking doors just fall off the hinges and there's just a hole. Like they can't close off anymore. They can't hide from you anymore. You see all of them in their entirety. Now, they at that point, they are now this extension of you. And for the most part, are feeling very free and very happy. It's a level of love and devotion that a lot of guys don't understand, and a lot of girls don't get to express. They don't get to experience that that side of themselves. Right? There's this whole world inside girls that a lot of times they get like a sense that it's there, but since they cannot bring themselves there, right? Like a woman can't bring herself to fully opening up and to like a full extent of vulnerability. Oh, excuse me. It requires the hand of someone else to bring her there. And this is what's important to understand, because like I was saying in the very beginning, the amount of influence that you can have to bring about this transformation is truly doable. You just got to get past your quick and easy desire to have that 3 seconds of dopamine. Just that quick shot of drugs. Right? Yes. Yes, I see you, little one. So you get past that, and and I've got guys who are working on this. They're working on their container, right? And moving it from some shape of a container that's made out of paper mache into something that is cast iron, okay, or titanium, or carved out of granite. Something very dense. Because this, I was just talking to him tonight, and like, his girl, she has her moments. She has her moments of fraying at the edges, okay, emotional, like getting to like emotional peaks where, just in life, because that's just what happens in life, where the usual abilities to cope just don't work, and they start fraying at the edges, and she would come to him, and he wouldn't know how to handle it. Oh, that's a good girl. Yes, you can keep rubbing while you watch. So he was just kind of like letting her drift, and her, she'd be in her emotional states and just kind of wouldn't know what to do with it, and didn't want to do anything with it. Also, it was just kind of like, it's distasteful. It's not fun. It's not cute. It's not sexy. It's sort of a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to be like, hey, you know what? I see that you've got something going on, and I'm just going to, kind of step back. Just get back to me in a couple of days. I'll give you some space. And like, that's how guys operate. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're feeling all out of sorts or something like that, you're just like, you know what? I need a couple of days of space. Nobody talk to me. I'll be fine in a couple of days. Right. So he did his coping to her. And I said, hey, just take a couple of days, and get back to me. And that's not how you do it. Basically, he just sat her down in a rowboat without any paddles and just gently pushed her out into the middle of the lake by herself. And she's just like coasting out there into the middle of the lake until it slowly comes to a stop, and she's just sitting there with all her fucking crazy. You know, of course, it's like, if it's not your woman, you don't really have that responsibility, but this is his woman, right? There is that responsibility that he's chosen to take on. And this has to do with her emotional states. And you guys might be thinking, well, shit, she's a grown woman. Okay. She's a grown woman. She should be able to handle these things. And that seems like a reasonable thing to say, but that's just not how girls are. Doesn't matter how old they get. Like, my own mother still has these same kind of moments. All right. She's what? Fucking almost 84 years old, something like that. So, or 74, I can't remember. But the point is that that's the nature of their minds. It's fluid, it's flexible, which is beautiful, but that also means at the same time, it could be influenced by this, by that, by a song, by a movie, by a friend saying something, by a mother giving a look, by a brother doing this, by a friend saying that. And just it's really sensitive. And because it's a fluid shape, it's not dense and grounded and firm like a man, where he's just this pillar of granite. It's not like that. Okay. Keep rubbing, little one. So, but once you kind of like get past your judgment of this and saying, okay, it just is what it is. You accept the nature for what it is. You don't go out into the woods hiking and go, look at all these trees in this chaotic order. Who does this? They should be in straight rows. It doesn't work that way. Okay. You just accept nature for what it is. It's fucking crazy. It's all over the place. Okay. But that all depends on what lens you're at. Okay. Because if you zoom way in and you start looking at the organization of cells or whatever, it looks pretty orderly. If you zoom way the fuck out and you're looking at the forest from 100,000 feet, that looks pretty orderly as well. Okay. So depending on the range in which you're looking at a woman's situation, it'll help you understand that like everything's just fine. Okay. So you accept them as they are without judgment. And this is the thing that allows you to lead them through their experience of themselves. And the more you can do this from almost from a position of like fatherly, it's the best. It's not exactly like that because, I am a father. I know the distinction, but it's something similar. It's something similar to that fatherly energy where you're with them on that experience, but you're not engrossed into it. Okay. And because you're able to not be engrossed into it, this is what allows you to lead and see the lay of the land. And you don't get pulled into their emotional, chaotic bullshit. But this is what allows you to guide them through it. Okay. And the more you do this consistently without getting any sort of emotional upheaval or shifting on your own, this teaches them over time that this man's container is unfuckwithable. That there's nothing that throws this man off of his square. Maybe depending on the girl, she might throw little seeds of tests out there just to check, right? Because that's just the way it is sometimes. And that seed just bounces off of you like it wasn't even thrown. And she's like, okay, like I might have a man on my hands. Not some male who's, he's got some arrested development and is actually a teenager in the body of a grown man, right? And this sparks the beginning. This sparks the beginning of that trust. Okay? Because when a woman trusts you, this is when her sexual freedom becomes liberation. This is where she becomes liberated through your guidance of her body. And with that, because it's all tethered. Remember, I talked to you guys how women are integrated, right? They cannot successfully separate their psyche from their body, from their emotions, from their spirit. It's all tightly woven together. And the only exceptions are if they've had very serious psychological training in like ways to do this, like maybe somebody who's like trained in the military or trained to be like, special forces or an assassin or something like that, or they've had a lot of trauma, like a lot, to the point where their body is just this other person that they kind of share a room with. It's not something that they associate as me. And that's really the only times. Okay. If it's not that, which is, most women are not that, they're not trained assassins or highly traumatized. There's this integrated of everything. So when you start affecting and tapping into her body, okay, keep rubbing, little one. When you start tapping into her body, whilst that trust is becoming more open, more relaxed. And when I say relaxed, not checking constantly, like, because there's a process of trust emerging where it's constantly checking over its shoulder. And after a while, through consistency, it stops checking over its shoulder. And it just says, okay, I'll go with the next step. I'll go with the next step. Okay. So as the body is being directed sexually, her trust is opening along with the vulnerability, because you can't have vulnerability without trust, and you can't have trust without vulnerability. They go hand in hand. This is when she starts getting lost. And it's actually for her, I think at first it might be a slightly uneasy sensation because it's new. It's not familiar. But from my experiences, from my knowledge, it becomes something joyful. I don't even know if joy is the right word. It probably isn't. If my pet was here, she could probably describe it better. But there's just a sense of like liberation, and the feeling is good. Let's just say that. I don't know if I can put the right word on there, but the feeling is good. And it's this sensation of release. And this is where she becomes something else through you. And this is what I want for you guys. This is the type of experiences that I want for you guys, where you're no longer just here for the rubbing of nerves. Okay? It's a totally different thing when a girl looks at you with lust and a girl looks at you like, who the fuck are you? Where did you come from? What are you doing to me? I don't know like who I'm becoming. I know who I was, but through my experience of myself through you, I don't know who I'm becoming. It feels good, but it's so foreign. I don't even know what's happening. And if you're holding that trust, then it just keeps going and going. And then that pride, that pesky fucking pride that so many girls hold on to, that starts dissolving. That ego starts dissolving. All right. And it shows up in so many ways. Okay. Like it can be with a tough big chest, that kind of ego, but there's also ego in not thinking that they're good enough. This is also ego, very self-centered. Okay. Much like the nice guy, right? The nice guy on the surface is like, oh yeah, he seems so great. He's always helping everybody, but it's all self-serving. Okay, it's sort of like that. So the self-effacement type ego starts dissolving, and they become more and more blank. And this is real imprinting. This is real influence, where you become not like beyond something unforgettable, okay? Because you're reshaping things. And this is the thing that you gotta start understanding and cultivating within yourself. You are not just this guy, right? Who happen to be born male, and you're here to make babies, get an education, create a career, maybe do something for the world. Like, that's great and all, okay? But there's much deeper things at play. And if you're a spiritual person or whatever, you can take it to that length. But the thing is that there's so much more. There's absolutely so much more. Yes. If possible, I think this girl should get that toy. The one with the bulbous end. Hmm. Yes. Just like before. So, yeah, this is what I want for you guys, right? Because this is when you're not just here to do stuff, okay? You're here to affect things. You're here to be impactful. And sex is a great way to do that. It's a fun way to do that, all right? And it's a fairly easy and potent way to tap into those features, okay? But this can be done in so many other areas of life. I was just talking with a client a couple hours ago about tension, and this goes into what I was reading earlier. As a man, you must become comfortable with tension of all kinds. And you learn this in various things, like as you're growing up. I think this is probably one of the main things that separates a boy from a man, and this is tension. Okay, and say, like, for example, the tension from being, say, like a college student and then moving into the world of working and saying, okay, I've got to figure this out on my own. Moving from out of the parents' home and finding a place of your own, and dealing with that tension of figuring it out, balancing your bills, figuring out that tension, going to the gym, and that tension of your body saying, you know what, I'd rather just stay in bed, and the tension of doing the thing that's uncomfortable over and over and over. The tension of when your girl is upset. Something terrible happened at work. You said something that really hurt her feelings. And she's coming at you with that, either out of sadness, frustration, anger. Being able to sit in that tension without reacting, without any sort of knee-jerk responses, without being moved off your square and trying to defend yourself or redirect an attack. It's being comfortable with tension. And that tension is the same sort of stuff that I was talking about with the excerpt that I was reading. The tension that's created when you can stretch time, when you can be holding her down, and you're playing with her pussy, and you're observing everything that's going on with her, gripping her hair in the back of her head and looking her in the eyes while you're playing and bringing her closer and closer. And you can feel the tension in her body rising and rising and rising. And then you can back off to show her, I am completely comfortable with this tension. In fact, I love it. I love being able to conduct this tension. It's easy for me. In fact, I find it relaxing. I like it. And watching you squirm makes me like it even more. This is, the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. Being able to have the resilience and be able to withstand tension. Very important. Because I'll tell you, girls are like the direct opposite. They are the direct opposite of that shit. Okay? They're not that great. I mean, most, just generally speaking, that most are not that great at handling tension. But I'll tell you what, and it's because they get lost in it. The tension at work, they get drawn into that stuff. The tension in a film with the layer upon layer upon layer of story arcs and this and that, they get pulled right in. Mom or dad has a criticism, they get pulled right in. Something great happens, they get pulled right in. Okay? Because they don't do well with holding a position, holding that tension, generally speaking. Okay? Of course, there are girls out there who are not like this. I think I've only met one. And she was a Buddhist monk. So there you have it. But, like I said, it's like you don't want to criticize them for that. No judgment. Because this is what makes it beautiful for interacting with them. This is what allows you to paint pictures in their minds and transport their imagination, which, remember, is integrated with everything else. Transport them someplace else, just with your words. So that it gets to a point where you say, come now. And she comes for you. Come now. Because that's the influence, right? Which is created through the comfort, through the trust, the vulnerability. You not being chaotic. You being a container that can handle a tornado without flinching. This is what's most effective. And when you're this way, and this is what I was explaining with my client earlier this evening, when you're this way, it starts to affect the people around you. Your coworkers, they feel more comfortable when you're around. Right? Not this tense weirdo, okay? But just this calm rock of a man who is unflinching in the world of chaos, who doesn't fucking spurg out and lose his shit when this or that happens. He's never getting pissed off and yelling at his computer screen or throwing something. I think the last time I did that, I was working on my bike. But I think when you're working on machines, you're allowed to throw a wrench every once in a while. So that's just the way it goes. But generally speaking, this is, it radiates, okay? Because that's the thing. When I'm talking about you becoming less chaotic, more formed, And this is really what is taught at the Dominance Academy. It's not about this, like this BDSM stuff, right? That's the fun, creative things, right, that can be added on. Okay. I mean, it's lovely, like tying a girl to a bench and smacking the hell out of her ass, caning her until she's getting so wet she's leaking through her panties. And that's all well and good and fun. But really the dominance starts with yourself. And the more comfortable and the more habitualized you get with this, the firmer and more dense your core becomes. And then what starts happening is you start creating your own gravitational field. And this starts drawing people towards it. But it's not like this, I'm compelled. It's not like that they're compelled to be near you. It's this comfortable draw. They're drawn through the lack of tension, the lack of threat, the lack of being erratic or neurotic. So they're drawn towards the calm. And this is incredibly intoxicating to a woman because she is not that. And this is no slight on women. I love their chaotic, beautiful messiness. But this is what they're drawn to. Because it's so unfamiliar, but when experienced, it rings some sort of ancient string. Like it twangs like some ancient string that reverberates inside them. Something primal, something deep that says, I know that sensation. That feels familiar to me. Not as something that I am, but something that I belong to. And again, like through the trust, the vulnerability that gets cultivated in her through your behavior, through your alignment, she can then come closer and closer to come closer to that state and that realization that I belong here. And that turns into, I belong to him. In and out, darling. I belong to him. That's what that translates to, because she then starts operating with respect to you from that core system, from that core resonance that is familiar. It's like almost like a deja vu, where there's something deep inside that's it comes before the conscious mind. It comes before the subconscious mind. This is something deeper than that. This girl inside says, I know that guy. I want to be with him. He feels safe. I want his dick in all my holes. I want him to fill me. I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but it's like the taking is what I'm getting at. I want him to take me, consume me, possess me, digest me. And this is at their core. And part of getting to this has to do with you as a man understanding and integrating the two sides of you. There's just two. The one side that has a desire to protect. I think this is something woven into the the spirit of every man. And then the other aspect is the desire to consume. And this can be in the form of consuming, burning, breaking, destroying. So we have that protector and we have the destructor. Or the destroyer, rather. The protector and the destroyer. Pardon me. And how society has it is they basically condition almost all of us, we can just say all of us, to ignore the destroyer. And that say, oh, that's bad, or we're just going to ignore that. We just want the nice guy who is the protector, right? Because that can be more easily manipulated and utilized and exploited. There's great ways to make money off of that. And then all the while, covert and overt messages saying that the destroyer is bad. The destroyer is distasteful. The destroyer is useless. It's counterproductive. It's vile. No. You must learn to embrace, well, first of all, greet, understand, and then embrace the destroyer that's in you. Because the other side of it, isn't that right, little one? The other side of it is this girl. And she has within her a split. She has that little girl whose greatest desire is to just feel safe. She wants to be held. She wants to be covered. She wants to be protected. And this may not even be like a conscious thought or even a subconscious thought. Again, this is something of the core. It's a core instinct. This yearning for just emotional safety. And then the other side of it, that other split that, just like the men, is not supported by society because it's taboo. It's not friendly. And that's the side that wants to be used, that wants to be consumed, that wants to be treated like an object. And there will be girls who will scoff at me. They will throw tomatoes at me. They might get angry. But I put all of my faith in this understanding. I have not seen this not present in any woman that I've been with. I've seen the little girl who seeks and yearns for safety. And I've seen the creature that wants to be treated like an object, that wants to be consumed and used. And they both exist simultaneously. So, well, you learn to tap into yours, the protector and the destroyer, and not judge and not push away and really embrace these things. And you become comfortable with that. In a format of leading by example, you then teach her that it's okay for her to do her version of that. Recognizing and embracing those aspects of her, the little girl, because they will even push away the little girl because that feels needy, that feels pathetic, that feels weak. But it doesn't when the protector is there. Oh, it becomes less. It feels less needy. It feels less pathetic. It feels less weak. Like the shame part of it goes away. The shame of feeling small, vulnerable, needy. because the protector is there to allow that to come out. And it also gives her guidance and the green lights to say, you can express the side of you that wants to be used, to be treated like an object. Be it a little fuck toy or some sort of service-oriented thing. Something that's mindless, without judgment, because society is full of that judgment, family full of that judgment, religion full of judgment. So you imagine, I mean, I know it's hard. I'm not trying to hear cape for women, but just as an understanding, because the more you understand, the easier it is to lead. So understand this. There's so much of the facets and characteristics that are found in a woman that are truly suppressed. And it's not the same suppression that fucking feminists are talking about with wages and rights and voting and property, banks, whatever. No. This has to do with characteristics of their being. And it's often weighted down via judgment, right? So the judgment comes in and it prevents certain aspects from being expressed. And so what you see of a woman out in the world is actually only a small sliver. It's a tiny sliver of what she actually is. And guys will see that and go, oh, well, that's just how women are. That's how women behave. So no, you're getting the highly edited version, the extremely edited version of her persona, which is vast. So if you become that thing that facilitates and allows for this little, these multifaceted creature to kind of crawl out of its little cave, checking if it's safe, then once it comes out, then you've got an entirely different woman on your hands. And then she looks to you almost like a savior. But the irony is that when you have done the internal work to become such a conduit, to become such, a guide or whatever, this influential in the right way, you no longer actually care. It does nothing for your ego for a woman to be looking at you as though you are her personal god. It does nothing. It just is. You just accept that that's their reality as it pertains to you. I don't know what these things are, little one, but I'm guessing that oh my has to do with something you're doing. Anyways, so I hope this stuff is making sense, right? Yeah, you can say fuck it all, right? And who the fuck cares? And you don't have to care. Honestly, you really don't. You could just be like, you know what? Fuck these hoes. They ain't worth shit. Except, a few seconds of pleasure. And then that's it. I could give a fuck. And that's fine. That's totally fine. All right. But I don't want to hear any of you who behave that way, complaining that a woman doesn't follow you. Because real following comes from them giving themselves to you. And that doesn't happen through a few seconds of dicking, right? Even if it's a good dicking, it doesn't create a compelling desire to be led. So get that out of your head. That like, oh, Chad Thundercock fucked her so good, and now he is leading her and she's just following him for whatever. Okay. Largely when that happens, it's more of these like psychological nonsense is going on. It's not that she has surrendered her fucking existence to him. No. It was there's needs not being met. There's psychological shit at work, childhood shit at work, abandonment stuff probably activated all through the channeling of, sex when people are more emotionally open and all that stuff. And then guys on the outside look at it and go, oh, look, she's so addicted to him. No, it's like trauma responses and shit like that. It's not real following. Where she says, take me, please. I am yours. I belong to you. You own me. And I would like nothing more than to be owned by you. With all of my heart. Those totally fucking different. So you don't have to fuck with this shit if you don't want to. You really don't. Okay? And I don't blame half of you for not wanting to, because it's fucking complicated. It's not easy. And a lot of it's not even fun. But the trade-off is you are actually leading. You're actually leading someone who joyously wants to follow. Because you can also create followership with force and fear, manipulation. This is what politics does. This is what marketing and branding does. This is what religions do. Dangle rewards, influence it with fear, repetitive rhetoric, and boom, you've got yourself a follower. But is that really how you want to be as a man? I don't want her to come to me because she fears my retribution. That's not real. That's like getting the truth, so to speak, out of a, like a POW through torturous treatment. After a while, if you torture someone with enough pain, or if you've inspired enough fear in them, they will tell you fucking anything. They will admit to anything just to make the psychological or physical pain stop. Or the impending doom, right? You've seen that scene, the guy's tied up and the torturer comes walking in and he's got that roll, that like leather roll up. And he places it on the table with a metallic bang, unties it, rolls it out. And there's these shiny, and like that surgical steel, all these different tools of torture, clamps, pinchers, pliers, blades, things with spikes, all sorts of different little things. And it allows the guy to see it, his impending doom. And it strikes fear into him. It's like, okay, all right, I'll talk. I don't want a follower based on the potential for pain. All right? No fear. Because with fear, I'm not getting all of you. Fear causes tension. It causes one to retract. Okay? I don't want the woman to have anything retracting. I want everything to loosen up and let out. I want her to hold on to nothing. That's real freedom. I want to act like a diuretic, where everything gets released. Like those pills you take when you're constipated. All right. I want to be like that. Not something that coerces through manipulation. But if you don't want to deal with that, totally fine. You just, fuck these bitches and keep it pushing. And that's cool too. But if you want something more, you want to influence more, you want to have a greater impact on the women that come into your life, get in touch with me. You can become a student and make this part of your regular everyday life, where you actually see transformation in the women that you allow into your circle. And then the name daddy or sir or my lord takes on a whole other meaning, takes on a whole other context. Daddy has got a capital D. Anyways, but yeah, get in touch. All the information you need is in the description of the video. I do free consultations, so you can ask any question you like. And, or you can just go to the website, thedominance.academy.com. I've also got my book, How to Be a Dominant Lover. That is for sale on the website. Get yourself a copy. And be on the lookout for my Patreon. I'll be putting out videos containing the stuff that I read earlier. Small instructional things that are both, theoretical and practical. So it's not just the ideas. There are things that you can learn and implement and start practicing in your sex lives. And you will see a change. All right, guys. I am signing off. Thank you for joining me here on this live. I appreciate you. And thank those of you who are watching this on the replay. If you have any questions, get in touch with me. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.